Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. You and I have a rendezvous with destiny.
You know what time it is, so sit back and get ready for the Stafford Voice, your dose of conservative in a world of liberal.
3, 2, 1.
Hey, how's everybody doing tonight? I am your host, Daniel Stafford, and you're listening to The Stafford Voice, where we are conservative in a world of liberal. Tonight, we are going to talk about how the system is rigged. That's it. That's all I'm going to say about that. The system is, in fact, rigged. And as we get started, I want to remind you that there are many ways to listen. So set this channel as a favorite, whatever you have to do so you don't get left behind. Because if for some strange, crazy reason you do miss the show, you will be able to catch a replay. So just sit tight. There is absolutely no need to panic because, hey, I've got you. In the case you aren't already following on social media because you're living out underneath a rock, well, you can find me over on the Twitters at Stafford Voice. You can look me up on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, or, that's right, Gab, baby. We are over on Gab, so we can hashtag speak freely. Join me over there, of course, at Stafford Voice on Gab. Again, at Stafford Voice on the Twitters. Over on the Facebook, the Instagrams, the Snapchats, wherever you are, all you have to do is just search for the Stafford Voice. If you want to keep things a little quieter out on the realms of the social networks, I see you guys over there in the YouTube chat. It's working tonight. I've got it up and going. Oh, you dissed me over in the other chat, Slick. What's up with that? No big deal. I got you here on the YouTube chat. If you want to keep things a little more personal, you can email me. Feel free to, please. You can do so at thestaffordvoice@gmail.com. And I want to remind you that I personally reply back to every question or tweet or Facebook post or whatever, as long as you tag me in it and I can see it. I personally will be the one to respond. I see you guys over there in the YouTube chat. We've got Tina, we've got Slick, better known as Rebel Road Tactical in the YouTube chats. Thanks for joining us tonight. I could not be any more fired up, ticked off, whatever you want to call it. Actually, I've got a better word for it, but I'm trying to police my language. I haven't done... I'm in both multitasking and stuff. That's because you're slick on that trigger. But as a matter of fact, let's just get into this. And here's the bottom line. This may come as a shock to you, but whether you want to accept it or not, Donald Trump is, in a way, right about one thing. The system is rigged. And it's really no secret at all. They throw it in your face every chance they get. I'm talking about the media here. And even about those chosen elite who get sent to Washington, each one of them is only about themselves and saving their job. The media, same situation. They're in it to save themselves. Not a single one of these media elites ever thought their secrets would make the front page. These keyboard warriors sit in a decision desk, hiding behind their screens, crafting their ever so important stories needed in order to push their agenda. If you think that's not true, then you've obviously missed the Podesta drops, proving, in large part, the industrial media complex is behind Hillary Clinton. They even apologize for putting out crap that just doesn't quite fit her new car smell. Anything and everything about Hillary Clinton is crafted, not only from the top to the bottom, but from the bottom up. They are meticulous about every detail. Smile here, but not there. Talk with a southern drawl, y'all. Walk with a limp because you are a PIMP, and so on and so on. Everything is crafted to show that she's there for you and understands where you be coming from. Trump, on the other hand, same thing. However, It's in his design to say and do those things you want to say and do, but just can't. Well, that's why he has appeal. That's what draws large crowds. People want to see what he'll do next. But the reality is that he will do whatever is right for him. He already has a plan when, or if, he loses. Trump TV. So, when you hear that the system is rigged, it's rigged in their favor. The only one set to be hurt is you. If you're blinded by the light, then get the hell out of the tunnel, because there's a train headed straight to run your tush over. So, you see, the system is rigged against you, not them. They're safe, always have been and always will be. The ones that actually need protecting, they're either put on a waiting list or put on hold. They're the ones who answered the call to protect and defend against foreign and domestic. They're the ones who put their life on the line. The least one could do is make sure they get what they need, or at least make sure they get what was once promised to them. You know, instead of saying, oops, sorry, yeah, we need you to pay that back. Pay it back? Who the hell in their right mind thinks it was a good idea to tell these men and women to pay back a bonus for signing their name on the dotted line of a death wish? Oh, that's right, the protected class. The ones sitting on their thumbs in a nice and cozy office in Washington, all while our men and women out there are dodging actual sniper fire, not the made-up kind. You have that very luxury thanks in part to those who suit up each and every day to go and protect your spoiled rotten tail. And then you question why someone would want to give up, throw in the towel, end it all. They call and ask for help and get put on hold. You call and they answer. So sit there behind your pretty little window and talk your game. Protect yourself. It's okay. After all, we wouldn't want to stain you with the things out there in the real world. Continue to rig the game so that you can continue to win. Your job doesn't come with an enlistment bonus of getting to pick the size of your body bag. Rigged, might I ask? If you ask me, yeah, I'll say the system is rigged. They win, we lose. And that is the bottom line. I'm sorry, but that whole story that came out over the weekend, you know, we have to drop this kind of crap over the weekend, because if we talk about it during the week, yeah, it might get actual attention and piss people off. Well, you know what? I'm pissed off. And there's plenty of other guys out and women out there who are pissed off as well. I am beyond livid right now. And if you're watching on the YouTube chat, look, check it. I pulled one out of the archives for tonight, babe. This actual t-shirt was one of the ones that was issued to me when I was in the Army. This t-shirt energizes the crap out of me. I have done things in this shirt that many people will ever dream of doing. Am I proud of a lot of those things? No. Am I proud of some of the other ones? You bet. But this shirt, this tiny little t-shirt that's halfway see-through by now, unites me with the men and women who have put themselves on the line. And they've done it for you, and they've done it for me. And they've done it for that industrial media complex, as well as the industrial Washington complex. I need to take a break. I've got to take a break before I get really ticked off about this next story. I'm laying it out there, and it's gonna get nasty. This, I'm telling you, if this doesn't piss you off, then move out of this damn country. Because you're part of what is wrong. You are part of what's wrong if this next story, when we come back from a break, doesn't piss you off. And I'm sorry if my language is a little touch and go tonight, but I don't care right now. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about making soldiers repay enlistment bonuses. We'll be right back.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Nothing will protect you quite like your sidearm, so why not give it the protection it deserves? Something as strong as the Second Amendment and stands the test of time, and better yet, made in the USA. A Rebel Road Tactical Custom Kydex holster is that and more. Call now and place your order with Rebel Road Tactical at 682-217-4579. Again, 682-217-4579, or online at rebelroadtactical.com.
Conservative in a world of liberal.
The Stafford Voice.
All right, we are back. And if you're watching on the YouTubes, you obviously saw that I missed my transition, and that's okay. The least of my worries is that. I'm sorry, I've got to pay so much better attention to these chat rooms. Army John joined us in one, and he says it pisses him off too. We'll get into that after a bit. Maybe it's time. Rebel Road Tactical over on the YouTube side. And by the way, if you're listening and you want to watch the show and participate in the chat, you will have to head over to the YouTube side and participate in the chat. Sorry, there really just isn't another way for me to do that. But again, this is one of the most interactive shows that's out there right now. Unfortunately, we are not streaming it on Facebook just yet. I'm trying to figure it out. Eventually, we will get there. But Rebel Road Tactical says maybe it's time for there not to be a protected class anymore. Look, I totally agree. And I think that's what I was trying to say in my little monologue at the beginning, is that even though we elect these people, we have to continue to hold them accountable. And for far too long, we have not done our job. And I'm even calling myself out on that. I haven't done a good enough job. But and then Tina says it's such a crappy thing for the government to do. Look, I agree. Rebel Road Tactical says, I got news for everyone. This will drive down troop levels. In the next couple of years, our military won't be able to defend our country. Get ready. I hate to say it, but I completely agree, and I'm going to touch on that here shortly. Tina says, thanks for service. You're welcome. It's the least I can do. I mean, this country has given us so many freedoms. I wish more men and women would actually go out and do it. Army John, thank you for joining us over in the YouTube side. It's already driving troop count down. Yes, I would agree. So, let's get into this. And here's what we're talking about. Making soldiers repay enlistment bonuses. Where do we even start? Facts. I like facts. Not the ones that come across on the fax machine. These are real, actual facts. So that's where we're going to start. Nearly 10,000 California National Guard soldiers are being ordered to repay their enlistment bonuses. Now, these bonuses were issued a decade ago, when there was a, quote, shortage of troops. And this came by way of a Pentagon audit that revealed overpayments by the California Guard, who was eager to, quote, fill ranks and hit enlistment targets. So far, they've been able to recover more than $22 million. Let me repeat that. $22 million so far they have recovered from our soldiers who put themselves on the line. And John over on the YouTube side says the technical term they're calling it is clawback, aka return of bonuses. Those bonuses were issued before Obama. This is effed up. Yes, I completely agree. So let me ask you this. Who wins and who loses? The government wins because they get their money back. The veterans are the ones who lose. Actually, we are all the ones losing. We're all the ones losing. Things like this keep people from wanting to go in, knowing that they're going to get screwed over. Things like this cause veterans to just throw in the towel and end it all. One of the absolute first things they tell you when you go in, on day one, they tell you, keep a record of every piece of paperwork. And 20 years ago when I first went in, I didn't get a bonus, but some people did. And they were told, keep your paperwork because the Army is going to try and screw you over. The Army is going to try and screw you over. So keep your paperwork because by the time you get to your duty station, you're going to have to prove to your S1, 2, and S3 that you do in fact get an enlistment bonus. So a lot of these guys, they go in, they get a re-enlistment bonus. And we're talking, look, I don't know if you know this, but the men and women who serve our country in the military, in all branches, they get paid chump change. A lot of the times, the guy at the local gas station is getting paid more than these guys. To put that into perspective, these guys make roughly the same amount that they were getting a bonus for. They make less than $20,000. A lot of these guys were getting somewhere in the range of a $10,000 to $15,000 re-enlistment bonus. Is that a hell of a lot of money? You bet. A lot of these guys went to college with that money. A lot of these guys were able to finally buy a house and put a down payment on something. Or at least help them be able to, scrape by. The men and women that go into the military, they don't do it for the money. They do it for the love of their country. To take back this little bit of money that means so much to these men and women is absolutely absurd. So let's put things into perspective, shall we? Here's the real stories. This comes from Christopher Van Meter, a 42-year-old former Army captain, Iraq veteran from Manteca, California. He says, quote, "These bonuses were used to keep people in." This is an interview, obviously, after he says that he has refinanced his home mortgage to repay $25,000 in re-enlistment bonuses and the $21,000 in student loan repayments that the Army says he shouldn't have received. He says, quote, "People like me just got screwed." How so? Well, here's the personal side that nobody ever wants to talk about. In Iraq, Van Meter was thrown from an armored vehicle turret and later awarded a Purple Heart for his combat injuries after the vehicle detonated a buried roadside bomb. What should the government do in his case? I think if you have any heart of compassion at all, you would say, look, we're not going to send that letter out, and we're not going to collect from him. He's done enough. He can have it. What's another story? How about Susan Haley, an LA native and former Army Master Sergeant who deployed to Afghanistan in 2008, who says that she sends the Pentagon $650 a month That's almost as much, if not more, than most people on Obamacare pay for a month for crappy health care. And she's paying back something that she signed a contract into, that the government obviously doesn't give a crap about. Because they're better than us. How much does this hurt Susan Haley? How much does it hurt Master Sergeant Susan Haley, who put her time in? $650 a month. Okay, well, you know what? That is 1/4 of her income to pay down a $20,000 bonus that the guard says was given to her improperly. She's on record as saying, "I feel totally betrayed." She's 47 years old and she's served 26 years in the Army, along with her husband and oldest son, a medic who lost his leg in combat in Afghanistan. She now lives in Kempner, Texas, and worries that they may have to sell their home there to repay the bonuses. Referring to her 6-year enlistment, quote, "They'll get their money, but I want those years back." I'm sorry, but this stuff really pisses me off. You want to talk about demoralizing one of the very structures that holds our country together? This is it. You can call me a conspiracy theorist if you want. But over 20 years ago, in the 80s, there was a Russian defective, a Russian KGB defective that came out and said this was one of their points, that they were going to demoralize the country. They were going to strip the strength right from underneath us without even really firing a single shot. I think we can probably put a check mark next to that one. And yes, John, it was Yuri Bezmenov. How about another personal story? Robert Richmond, an Army Sergeant, First Class, SFC, who was then living in Huntington Beach, said that he re-enlisted after being told he qualified for a $15,000 bonus as a Special Forces soldier. Obviously, the dude's a bad... Police your language, Stafford. Police your language. The money was going to give him, quote, breathing room, who had already gone through a divorce after an already deployment to Afghanistan in 2002 and again in 2003. And in 2007, his Special Forces company was sent to Iraq, to the Iraq town of Hila, 60 miles south of Baghdad, in an area known as the Triangle of Death, because of how intense the fighting was. Richmond conducted hundreds of missions against insurgents over the next year. In one, a roadside bomb exploded by his vehicle, knocking him out and leaving him with a permanent back and brain injuries. He was stunned to receive a letter from California Guard headquarters in 2014. Yes, that's right. In 2014, he got a letter. They've been holding this story hostage until now. Anyway, this letter told him that he needed to repay the $15,000 and a warning that he faced, quote-unquote, debt collection action if he failed to comply. He went on record as saying, quote, "I signed a contract that I literally risked my life to fulfill. We want somebody in the government, anybody, to say this is wrong and we'll stop going after this money." Unquote. So, should we worry at all? Should we worry? I mean, obviously, if they could stop it, they would. Look, Major General Matthew Beavers, deputy commander of the California Guard, said, quote, "At the end of the day, the soldiers ended up paying the largest price. We'd be more than happy to absolve these people of their debts. We just can't do it. We'd be breaking the law." Oh, that's right. We're going to wash our hands of it because, after all, we're the government. We can break the law. We can write the law as we do it. Because we're elite. So you see, maybe the system is rigged. Oh, hot dang. On Sunday, House Majority Leader Kevin McCarthy of California said in a statement that the Department of Defense should, quote, waive these repayments, and that the House, quote, will investigate these reports to ensure our soldiers are fully honored for their service. It is disgraceful that the men and women who answered their country's call to duty following September 11th are now facing forced repayments of bonuses offered to them. Our military heroes should not shoulder the burden of military recruiters' faults from over a decade ago. They should not owe for what was promised during a difficult time in our country. Rather, we are the ones who owe a debt for the great sacrifices our heroes have made, some of whom, unfortunately, paid the ultimate sacrifice. Bravo, McCarthy! But are you only talking about what you want to see done? Or are you actually going to put your shoulder to the wheel and push it along? Now, I do want to give a shout out to Representative Darrell Issa, who penned a letter to Defense Secretary Ash Carter. He requested that the chairman of the House and Senate Armed Services Committees include language in the 2017 National Defense Authorization Act to waive all of the fees and penalties being imposed on soldiers and veterans. In a statement that he made just today, he says, quote, "It is unconscionable that the responsibility for paying for bureaucratic malfeasance and corruption over a decade ago is being laid at the feet of the heroes who put themselves in harm's way to keep our nation safe. The Department of Defense should forgive these debts immediately." I am beyond awestruck that this stuff has been going on behind the scenes for roughly 2 years, if not longer than that. And the fact that it is just now coming out in the middle of one of the most ignoramus contested elections. We as a country have bigger things to worry about. For one, if this doesn't tell you that the system is rigged, go hide under a rock. Or as a matter of fact, just pick the rock up, throw it in the air, and let it fall on top of your head. Because you being dropped as a child wasn't enough to knock some sense into you. Hillary Clinton, one of the most corrupt politicians, hands down. She makes Nixon look like a saint to the crap that she has gotten away with. And yet, she's one of the best that we can come up with as a country to represent us? I'm not even going to get on to Trump in relation to that. As a matter of fact, we're going to take another break. And we're going to talk about Trump when we come back. But I want to remind you, because I forgot to say this earlier, I want to remind you that if you are looking for a Christmas present, let's just put it that way. If you're looking for a Christmas present for somebody, for somebody you know that is an avid Second Amendment supporter and they just need something to protect their sidearm that protects them, trust me, you need to look no further than my guys over at rebelroadtactical.com. And as a matter of fact, they've put together this incredible offer. When you place your order between now and December 31st, they're giving you a grace period if you miss the Christmas rush. They've put together this incredible deal. It's almost too good to pass up. Tell them that TSV sent you. Tell them I sent you, and you're going to get 10% off your order. They make the best custom Kydex holsters that are out on the market. Handmade right here in the U.S. It just doesn't get any better than that. Trust me, the tag doesn't say made in China like some people's suits, or made in Mexico. Okay? Handmade in the U.S., the highest of quality. If you don't like it, you send it back, and he does it for you. Trust me, it doesn't leave his shop without him personally putting his stamp of approval on it. Check them out, rebelroadtactical.com. Again, make sure you tell them I sent you so you can get 10% off of your order between now and December 31st. Now, when we come back, we're going to talk about Trump and his Gettysburg Address. Seriously? That's what we're going to talk about? Okay. It is what it is. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
Conservative in a world of liberal.
The Stafford Voice.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. That's right. I'm your host, Daniel Stafford, and you are tuned into the Stafford Voice, where we are conservative in a world of liberal. Okay, I told you before we went to the break that we're going to talk about Trump's Gettysburg Address. I mean, okay, look, this is the kind of change that only arrives once in a lifetime. It's symbolic of the moment when the war turned. It's a contract between Trump and the American voter, and it begins with restoring honesty, accountability, and change to Washington. Okay, here's what it really is. A bunch of he said, she said BS. Everybody's got something to say, but there's nothing coming out right now. Oh, my word. He is an opportunistic, narcissistic chump. That's that. I mean, that's the nicest way I can say this. Everything he does and says is beyond calculated. Well, what all did he talk about? This was supposed to be this was his chance to turn the tides and make everybody jump over onto his side. So he lays out the anti-corruption to-do list. This is what he wants to do in the first 100 days, apparently. I mean, as if he thinks he's actually going to win. So, here is his 6-point to-do list. He wants constitutional amendment to oppose term limits on members of Congress. Okay, that's great. We've talked about that before. We've been talking about that for I don't know how long. A hiring freeze on federal employees to reduce the workforce through attrition. Okay, well, here's an idea, Trump. Why don't you just take away their bonuses? Make them pay back everything. Point number 3, requirement to eliminate 2 federal regulations for every new one. Okay, talk is cheap. You try and get it done. There's so much bureaucracy that when one comes out, another 100 get written. I mean, you try and get rid of. Let me rephrase that because that totally didn't even come out right. You try and get rid of 100 come out in its place. I don't know how Trump is going to try and police that one. He wants a 5-year ban on White House and congressional officials becoming lobbyists. Okay, great. But these are the Washington elites. They get away with everything. A lifetime ban on White House officials lobbying for foreign governments. Okay, that sounds great, but again, talk is cheap. And I see you guys talking things up over in the chat. Nice of you to join us over on the YouTube side. I also see, looks like Wes Braithwaite joining us over on the KLRN radio side of the chat. He hasn't found the YouTube chat, which is okay because it's a little clunky on the staffordvoice.com/listen live. I get it. It's extremely difficult to embed the YouTube chat, so it is what it is. So that's why you have multiple ways to listen and to watch and participate. Again, one of the most interactive shows that's out there right now. So, Wes, thanks for joining us tonight. I hope that you're either entertained, frustrated, or at least educated by the end of tonight. And that goes along with everybody that's joining us over in the YouTube chats. So let's continue. He wants a complete ban on foreign lobbyists raising money for American elections. Well, that basically would get rid of Hillary Clinton just right there, or anybody like her. But again, talk is cheap. You know, once he gets in, I think he'll finally realize that if he gets in, if is a big word these days. If Trump gets elected, he will realize just how much money under the table gets made by lobbyists and foreign governments. Okay. Well, what about immigration and the rule of law? Well, he's got a 5-point plan for that. He wants to cancel Obama's unconstitutional executive actions, memoranda, and orders. Okay, great. The Supreme Court told him to sit down and shut up. How did that work out? Pick a conservative replacement for Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia. Here's an idea. Why don't we pick a conservative to run for office so we don't have to worry about that? Cancel all federal funding to sanctuary cities that harbor illegal immigrants. Well, we should already be doing that ourselves. Why do we need the government to crack down on us? Oh, maybe because Trump wants to expand and not really contract? Anyway, begin removing the 2 million criminal illegal immigrants from the U.S. and cancel visas to countries that won't repatriate them. Here's an idea. Actually, it's a fact. There are more than 2 million illegal immigrants. I mean, we can call them criminal all we want. For the last year, that's what we've been calling them, is crimigrants. Because they're criminal, they're illegal, and they're immigrants. We call them crimigrants, okay? What is Slick saying? If he gets in, he will realize that our government is 500 monkeys effing a football. I have to agree with everyone else in the chat. Protopotamus, he says, what a mental image. That's really is as effed up as a football bat. Jessica's in there. She says that's one heck of an image. It really is. Anyway, is it not ironic at all that a group of what do they call it? A group of baboons or a group of monkeys is referred to as Congress of monkeys, or however it goes. You guys know what I'm saying. It's late, and we're okay. We've got to. You know what? I don't even want to talk about what Trump has to say anymore. I really don't. A group of baboons is referred to as a Congress. I had it right the first time. Okay, great. Thanks, John. Appreciate that. You know what? No more attention to Trump tonight. No more. As a matter of fact, let's get into yours and my favorite time of the evening. And that is Profiles in History. Frustrated and disappointed at the lack of revolutionary fervor in fellow Georgians, they attempted to join South Carolina. South Carolina refused, so they acted on their own, sending their own delegate to the Continental Congress. Lyman Hall was born on April 12, 1724, in Wallingford, Connecticut. He attended Yale, graduating in 1747, and afterward he studied theology under the guidance from his uncle, the Reverend Samuel Hall. He was ordained by the Fairfield West Consociation in 1749. An outspoken group of parishioners opposed his ordination, strong-arming the Consociation to dismiss Hall in 1751. This was after charges against his moral character, which, according to one biography, quote, were supported by proof and also by his own confession. He was later reinstated and for 2 years was found filling temporary assignments wherever a pulpit was empty. His heart just wasn't in it anymore and began studying medicine. On May 20th, 1752, he married Abigail Burr. Soon after, he started his practice. 1 year later, Abigail passed away, and roughly 3 months later, in October of 1753, he married Mary Osborne. Shortly after they married, they migrated south to Dorchester, South Carolina, where he established himself as a physician. Dorchester, South Carolina was a community that was settled by Congregationalist migrants from Dorchester, Massachusetts, just decades earlier. When these settlers moved down to Georgia, Dr. Hall followed and became one of the leading citizens of the newly founded seaport of Sunbury, Georgia, in St. John's Parish. To say it was a good place for a doctor to settle would be an understatement. Why? The surrounding area was densely wooded, marshy, and filled with plenty of game. The swamp waters were alive with snakes, fish, and alligators. It was ripe for malarial exposure, and Dr. Hall was plenty busy. Maybe it was Lyman's background in preaching, but his articulation awarded him as a leader and spokesman for those in the parish, and it was his attendance of the Friends of Liberty in Savannah where he became friends with Button Gwinnett. After being killed in a duel, Lyman acted as the executor of Gwinnett's estate. Hall soon found himself at the Continental Congress on May 13th, 1775, where he was a bit of an anomaly, because Georgia had yet to be fully recognized as an official colony. Congress didn't want to reject revolutionary supporters from Georgia. They did admit him, unanimously, I might add, as a delegate. Lyman declined to vote until Georgia was fully represented. By summertime, events such as the battles at Lexington and Concord had not only swayed the hearts of Georgians, but they sent official delegates to Congress, even confirming Hall as an official delegate. Lyman Hall was present for all the debates over independence, and on July 4th, 1776, he voted in favor of the Declaration of Independence, later signing it on August 2nd. During the Revolutionary War, when the British controlled the coasts of Georgia in 1779, much of Sunbury was burned, including Hall's home. He also stood accused of high treason, and Lyman fled to Connecticut, where some say his family was hiding. Now, upon returning to Georgia to reclaim his lands after the British withdrew in 1782, Hall was elected to the House of Assembly in 1783, before being elevated to the office of governor. One of the things he worked on, besides rebuilding after the war, was to work on setting aside land for a state-chartered college. He believed that education, particularly religious education, would result in a more virtuous citizenry. The next year, Franklin College, now the University of Georgia, was chartered. After serving only 1 year as governor, he served one more in the assembly, then a year as judge. Afterwards, he resumed his medical practice and became involved in the continued development of agriculture in the state. Also in 1785, he sold his plantation, Hall's Knoll, and in 1790 he moved to Burke County, where he purchased Shell Bluff Plantation. Lyman Hall died on October 19th, 1790, at the age of 66. He may have failed as a preacher, but he found success during his life living a sermon of patriotism. And that is this week's Profiles in History. I'm sorry, but that guy was so fun to dig into. I mean, Mary Osborne, Ozzy's great-great-grandma. I know what you're going to say. Yes, Ozzy is that old. Oh my gosh. Slick. I'm glad I didn't see that earlier, because you would have blown me. Wow, bad choice of words. Because you're not Monica and I'm not BJ Clinton. Anyway, wow, I had to continue that path. You would have caused me to, I would have lost it. I would have been so distracted. I couldn't have handled myself. Anyway, I absolutely love Profiles in History. I'm compiling a list of things to do after we're done with all of the signers of the 56, all of the 56 signers of the Declaration of Independence. I'm really excited to see. I'm really excited to see what kind of things we come up with. And if you guys have any ideas, please share them with me, whether it's on Twitter or Facebook or even over on Gab. If you're over there, look me up, follow me. Let's #speak freely. But one of my passions is history, and I love putting those together for you. I think I learn more. There really is a lot more that I could put into those and tell you about, but it would just be so much, and we wouldn't ever be able to cover anything else in the show. And actually, we're saving some of those heavy hitters like Ben Franklin and John Hancock. We're saving some of those for later. We're saving some of those for later because they deserve more time. And if we have to devote a whole show to them, then that's what we'll do. We'll get it. Okay, where are we at? I think it is that time. Let me make sure. by that sound, it is that time. It is time for Who Said That. And this week, they really just speak for themselves. So we're just, if you're, okay, I first need to tell you what the heck is Who Said That? Who Said That is our last and final segment of the show before we end it and we go into our after the show. And we didn't get to cover that one. So if you're listening or watching right now and you want to find out what we're going to talk about on the after the show, we're going to talk about how the Declaration of Independence may or may not have been defaced. Okay, so there's your teaser. Join me over on the YouTubes and make sure you subscribe over there. Okay, so Who Said That? It doesn't matter whether it's a Republican, a Democrat, liberal, libertarian, conservative. If they say something so completely batcrap crazy, well, we're going to play it here and we're going to make fun of them. Tonight, I don't even know it. No, it's not Mahatma Gandhi. John over on the YouTube side of the chat is trying to guess, and we haven't even played it. Republican or a Democrat? Yeah, that's one way to put it. Well, let's just play it and get on with it, because it's gonna sound like nails on a chalkboard. So I hope you hate this as much as I do.
Loud music. It is good to talk to you again. The last time we spoke, we were at the DNC, where you and the other mothers of the movement obviously captured the headlines. I was reading Oprah Winfrey. She gave an interview to T.D. Jakes in her endorsement of Hillary Clinton. She says she's remained silent for so long, not knowing the words to say. But her last note was, you don't have to like Hillary Clinton. You're not having her over to dinner. This is someone you're looking to lead. I was struck by how you were saying, bring your family members, get them in, pulling in people who may be on the fence, may not have that enthusiasm for Hillary Clinton, it appears.
Well, I mean, it's extremely important. There are a number of people across the country that are sitting on the fence. I will tell you, when I talk to people across the country all the time, I'm stopped in grocery stores and everywhere, and they say, why are you voting for her? Tell me, I'm sitting on the fence. I need to hear from you. Why are you voting for her? Why are you supporting her? And I have to tell them what I know personally about her, what I know personally about her as a grandmother, as a mother. I have had many opportunities to sit and just listen to her, and her heart for the nation, her heart for everyone in this country. She wants to put everyone on a level playing field. She truly has the concern for the nation at heart, and I think that's what we want to convey to the country. It's so important that everyone understand that she truly is the most qualified and truly has the best interest at heart for everyone in the United States.
Here we are 2 weeks out. Many people have said this has been a
seriously? Okay, that was and that's the sound of the men working on the chain. Okay. Yeah. Okay. By the sound of that tone, we don't even have time to get into it. But the lady was completely batcrap crazy. Somebody has filled her stocking full of lies, and apparently the only thing that this Clinton supporter has persuaded her to vote and say that she is the most competent, most qualified person running for president is because seriously, because she was a grandma and she has a heart. She's a heartless witch. That's what she is. She's a heartless witch. That woman has no heart. She doesn't care about anything except herself. So in that right, she cares about something. Nothing. She cares about nothing. That woman doesn't even have a soul. Satan has already ripped it out and thrown it in the trash. It's not even good enough for him. That's how wretched that woman is. Okay. Anyway, By that beeping sound that we heard, wow! I just saw a picture scroll across on Twitter by the Morning Spew. It's a picture of Hillary Clinton, but they superimposed a picture of Jabba the Hutt where Hillary's face would be. Wow, that was scary. Anyway, by the sound of that tone that you guys heard, that's all the time we have for this week. Stay tuned for the After the Show if you're watching on the YouTubes. But God willing, the Stafford Voice will be back next week. You can follow me over on the Twitters or Gab at Stafford Voice. You can look me up on the Facebooks, the Instagrams, the Snapchats, wherever you are in social media land. Just search for the Stafford Voice, and you'll probably find us. You can email any of your questions, comments, or concerns or news tips that you would like to talk about to thestaffordvoice@gmail.com. First and foremost, thank you so much for your time. And until next week, thanks and God bless.